dark it was in here, and certainly the other room. So everything was upgraded to LED lights, so not only is it brighter, but it's also saving us money. And if we, when I get to the first quarter for this year, you can see that our electricity costs are basically trending down. And the other thing that did push up our costs, last year we also spent considerable money on an air filtration system to deal with our radon problem, again mentioned in the minutes to last year. So that tended to actually increase our electricity because the fans had to run more continuously. Yeah, just as I said, the lockdown for the past 5 months, it basically impacted our revenue. So before I get on to Q1, I just thought, any questions on the past fiscal year results? Okay. I've included the balance sheet, so just so you get an idea of where we were at July. So you can see one of our key items, we've now got a term deposit of $40,000, and that was, as I said, most of the money came from the final Goulds Creek payment and also our HHOA fund. So that's something that we always have kind of in the back of our pocket of things, and we've been very fortunate that things haven't got bad over the past, since our lockdown of almost 7 months now. So that's always at least we know that we can keep going for at least a year if everything dries up. And we've not, we haven't rested on that. We continue to push for donations and other sources of revenue. So, okay. And then just if the third page down is just the first quarter, past 3 months. So we did start off our cat chase program. We had the ace was caught last July, so with all the wrapping up of that, that money was basically not received to us until August. So at least we started off the year with $5,000, so that was good. We've had we had a beer store return program where we're just asking for beer store donations, which was very generously received by the community, and I think lots of people took the opportunity to, rather than lining up inside the beer store, simply drop them off here. And appreciation to Tim Labriviere, who spearheaded it, and some of his volunteers. This was at the end of October. We are now up to over $1,200 that we've raised. So for a lot of dirty work cleaning all the bottles, but it was a great little fundraiser. We've also had a lot of donations. Just people. There was an article in the paper that said we were experiencing a drop in revenue, and we had a lot of people call up and just and we instituted a program of e-transfers earlier in the year. So during October, there was a number of people that simply transferred money into us as a donation. So a lot of good community support there. Yeah, if you do the math, but our electricity is basically running a lot lower than it was last year, and that's thanks to in part to the new lights. Yeah, and even our fistful of cash, we don't have as of when I prepared the reports, we were ahead $470, and I think we've got several hundred more dollars that come in, so we may be $600 to $800. So, considering again that people weren't able to get out and socialize, we basically, at the point we were considering we might not even break even, but at least we came out close to $800 ahead, so that was good. And then just sort of looking ahead to to the rest of this year, we did have back in, I guess, early October, our main pump broke, so we had to emergency replace that pump. We also took that opportunity to try and get additional funding from different groups within the county, and we were quite successful in that, and we raised enough money for the pump as well as some other projects that we'd like to look into. So that was very fortunate, and we also we should have our community hatchery program, our CHIP grant. We should get that at the end of December, and we still have the revenue from the land between that annual rent that comes out usually in about April. So still, and we
more to come on the pump front, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just from
that's just one.
Yeah, And I think that's where we're in good position in that. There's a number of, although I always show 1,500 general donations, we've had quite a bit that's come in since October this month. So. Yeah, and as I said, we have the reserve just in case to keep us through any rough spots, but I think for the rest of this year, we should be in good shape. We have over roughly about $15,000 in the bank. Excuse me. And yeah, so any other questions? Any questions? Yes?
About how many members do you think we have?
We are, I think it's about 400.
Would that be up or down from the year before?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, we have a spreadsheet with the members, and it's, one of our admin's projects this year is to try and keep it up to date, to follow and certainly reminding people for their membership drive. So I don't, and I think in prior years we haven't been that aggressive in trying to call everybody and make sure we get their donation, their membership dues. So.
I'll touch on that later.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
Any other questions today? Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
We're very fortunate to have a CA as our treasurer. I'd like a motion from someone to accept the financial report. Randy, Tim?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor? Carried. Okay. So, I guess the next thing on the agenda is I'd like to hang on now. I'm going to shuffle this around a little bit. It's my agenda in front of me here, so I'm going to give my president's report. Dave has touched on some of it, but anyhow, we started the year with great enthusiasm, plans for the wild game dinner, summer family day, September fest, bring back the summer fish fry. Dan Johnson was organizing the wild game dinner. Brianne Pocket was dealing with the family day event. Kent McDonald was looking into our hydro costs as they needed to be brought down because it's one of our major expenses. Tim LaRiviere was organizing a fish full of cash raffle for $1,000 with the draw to be held on August the 3rd. And I was looking into the proposed fish fry in addition to looking after the Catch the Ace weekly draw. I gotta say, steering this ship is easy with a great crew of volunteers and directors. The hatchery operation was running well. The heat recovery unit we installed last year to the tune of $50,000 had brought the radon levels down well below the ministry standards. Then in March, along came COVID. Well, that sure changed the landscape. All rentals were canceled. All our summer events were put on hold. Not canceled, but who thought that this virus would not go away? They were subsequently canceled. The hatchery volunteers were asked to stay home. Our hatchery manager, Randy, was the only person feeding the fish for about a month until we got a better picture on how to deal with the virus. Dan Smith, our VP of Operations, got a half a dozen young volunteers. When I say young, I mean people under 65. Each to take a day.
I'm a young guy. And I'm 60.
Randy arranged with the MNRF for the distribution of the fish. There was no helicopter this year. The number of lakes stocked was greatly reduced. The good side is the lakes that got stocked got more fish, and we continued with that skeleton crew all summer. The halibut and gold egg harvest was canceled. The MNRF was not providing their staff and equipment, and we did not have the proper boat to do it on our own. And with the average age of our volunteers over 65, it was unreasonable to ask them to hang over the front of a boat at 2 in the morning, pulling a net out of the water to net the adult trout. We continue to deal with the MNRF to resolve this issue. On the bright side, we still receive trout fry, so we'll be stocking about 30,000 trout next year. When the news got out about this and our need for money to keep the doors open, the community really rallied to help out. Tim LaRiviere organized a liquor bottle drive and in 30 days brought in over $1,000. We have received or will be receiving donations to the tune of over $17,000. Money desperately needed to help replace the normal income stream from our annual dinner and hall rentals. We now have issues with our well. One pump had to be replaced. Thanks to a generous donation we received, the cost for that was covered. The other 2 wells are being looked at by a well driller to advise us of their condition. It could be as simple as a few $1,000s to rehabilitate them, or the more drastic expense measure of replacing them with a new drilled well. And that cost depends on how deep they have to go to get a viable water volume. We can use up to 300 liters of water per minute based on the number of tanks in use. So water is a huge issue. The Fistful of Cash raffle was postponed from August to today. Due to COVID, we hope to break even, and now appears it will clear somewhere between $500 and $800 thanks to the efforts of our volunteers led by Tim, Canoe FM, and Outdoors Plus. This is the far cry from the $5,000 we raised on the last raffle. So much for raffles in this environment. The Catch the Ace draw had not been the financial success we had originally hoped for in 2017, but from 2017 to now, it has raised in excess of $75,000. The HHOA share of the proceeds, they share the proceeds with Canoe and the Halliburton Highlands Resource Center. We get 50%, Canoe gets 30%, and the HHRC gets 20%. This is fair, as Canoe distribute the tickets, host the draw, and give us free airtime to announce the winner each week, which gives me an opportunity to promote the HHOA on a weekly basis. We have started our 9th draw. On the bright side, Halliburton Foodland checkout cashiers are now asking people if they would like to purchase a ticket when they're checking out. So sales have increased greatly, and thanks to Brad Park and his staff for offering to do this. We received a $4,000 donation from the HHRC in the spring to assist in our lighting upgrade to be energy efficient. This included the lighting in the building here and the outdoor lights on the hydro poles. The sale of stock light books has done well, and we still have books available to sell. Dan Smith has been looking after this venture. In the first year brought in $4,441. In 2019, and in 2018 it brought in $5,746 for a total of $10,187. And the advertising sales covered the printing costs, so that's a net profit. Well done, Dan. The meat we purchased for the wild game dinner has all been sold, so we've recovered all our expenses, and hopefully Dan is gearing up for another year. The other issue we've been looking at is the online membership app. And thanks to Linda Heaps, we now have this in place. Memberships can be purchased and renewed online, and payment by e-transfer or Visa MasterCard through a secure portal. Linda also tackled our website, changed the view, cleaned up the pages, set up the online portal. This AGM will be posted on the website. She also helps look after our Facebook page. Thank you, Linda, for all you do. You are truly a volunteer. The hall rentals are continuing subject to capacity limits and social distancing. We have a great crew of volunteers who will continue to raise and stock our lakes with trout. Fundraising is and will continue to be our #1 goal, as there's limited financial support from government and issues like our wells will always appear. The media is reporting the development of vaccines for COVID-19, so hopefully someday in the future we'll be back to our new normal, whatever that is. So, thank you very much. Okay, we'll now move into, I'd like to present the list of directors that we have on staff, and I'd like to say that Brad Pocket, who's been a director for many years, stepped back this summer. She also works at the high school and has young children, and she found that it was just a little bit too much for her to continue. But Brianna has been a huge supporter of this organization for many years, and we do thank her for her continued support. So our current directors are myself, Dan Smith, Dave Armstrong, Kent McDonald, Art DeBerge, Tim LaRiviere, Julie Rittenhouse, Dan Johnson, and Tony Cooper. So I'd like now to move into the election of officers for the 2021 year. And I understand that these directors are standing for re-election. Myself, Dan Smith, Dave Armstrong, Kent McDonald, Art DeBerge, Tim LaRiviere, Julie Rittenhouse, and Dan Johnson. And I've received nominations or offers to stand from Ken Fielding and Tim Barr. Are there any other nominations from the floor? If not, I'd ask someone to move nominations be closed. Dan Johnson. And all in favor? Carried. Okay, so now nominations are closed. I'd like someone to move the election of these officers. Tim, second by Randy. Okay, so these are your new directors. And that concludes the formal part of the AGM. The last thing we have to do is the draw for the fistful of cash. So Linda, if you would swing your camera over there. Oh,
Can
okay.
I just give a summary?
Oh, sorry.
Before we do it.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
Well,
I'll put
yeah.
up here front so you guys, everybody doesn't get a crook in their neck.
Take your mask off so we can.
Yeah. Hi. For those, by the way, thank you, Tim and Ken. That's awesome. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I'm Randy Charter. I'm the volunteer manager here of the hatchery. I took over for Jimmy Cardinal about 5 years ago, I think. Can't remember now. It all boils in. So I just want to give you a quick summary of what we have been able to do this year and where we're heading. I'm not going to get into the Halliburton Gold stuff because my rant went to the person I wanted to hear it. So this year, despite COVID, we were able to stock 14 lakes, which is about, I would say 5 or 6 less than we would normally, but we were only allowed to have 2 people when you took the fish out, and so working with the M&R, it was, and plus, sometimes when we stock, some lakes get stocked by helicopter. They're still public lakes, but we can't drive to them. So those were out. And any lakes that needed a boat, because the M&R would normally help us with a few lakes that way as well. We're not stocked with the exception of Loon, which did get fish. We stocked it from the road on the north shore. So what that means for the 14 lakes is that was a total of 13,400 rainbow trout, 4,300 Halliburton Gold, which were from previous years, which were from the Wild Egg Collection. And we also get the rainbows come from the ministry. They go in an outdoor pond. The Manitous, which is the strain that we would put in lakes that don't have the gold, like Cash and several others. So there were 6,529 there. Currently on hand, we've got 16,000 rainbows in the pond outside, which is down about 4,000 from what we normally receive, but there were issues at the ministry. They had a shortfall. And Manitous, we normally would get either, well this year we would have got 7,000, but because of shortfalls at the ministry, we weren't getting any of the yearling class Manitous. They did, however, upon us not doing our egg collection this year, I'm receiving 3,500 eggs, Manitou eggs, tomorrow. So we'll have something, right, in 2 years. Now we're going to be keeping them for 19 to 20 months. So what we have right now, we got the 16,000 rainbows. I have roughly 7,000 Albertan golds from our last egg collection. They're doing very well. They're actually 3 times the size of the ones the Manitous we just brought in from the ministry, or no, Kalalas, sorry. That's something relatively new for us too. This year they're giving us 3,500 Kalalas. I personally have never raised them, but they have been here before. They've been in several of the other lakes around here over the years. So I'm expecting they will do equally as well as the Manitous. The one thing, they are a little undersized, so Eric and I were talking there a few minutes just before this, and I think we're going to probably keep them back even longer to raise them bigger, because putting a fish this big in the lake in May is just feeding the bass and everything else. So we may keep them till the fall. Our goal is to try to raise them as big as possible to increase their chance of survival and rule out some of these smaller predators. Anyways, I mean, not much you can do about muskie, right? But anyways, that's where we sit as far as the fish on board. Different species, different numbers, but we're still trying to make do, and hopefully, right now, water is an issue because we only have the one good pump now. So, have to tweak a lot to try to make do with the water we have until we are able to figure out what's going on with our other well. So, any questions? No? Okay, thanks for coming on board, guys. Appreciate that.
Lisa, could I get you to do the draw for the tips?
Do you think you could actually move that to
I
that
can do
table,
that.
because it'll give a better angle?
Absolutely.
Yes, I could.
Because you would be standing right in front of where you're drawing.
You'll have to take a picture for me, but I don't want to be in the photo. Is there somebody else who could do it? One of your directors, maybe?
She wants to take her own picture.
Oh, I want to take a picture of the paper, right?
Well, you do a lot of that. No, I can't do it.
Well,
I was in charge of it. I got it.
wait, I think everybody in the room except me has tickets in there because I can't buy a ticket,
Yeah, we can't.
but my wife is. So, I mean, I'm happy to draw this.
Well, I mean, I can do it. Okay. It's a nice to get a photo on the paper that doesn't need, that's all.
Yeah. Don't look at me, I don't get the
What
picture.
happens if what happens if I take my wife's ticket?
And she wins.
Yeah.
Okay, so hang on, I'm just gonna, all right, so Tim, turn around, look that way, stick your hand back in there, rummage around in there. One ticket. Okay. Jeff Stamp.